Good morning, Linda.
Well, it's almost good afternoon, but good morning.
So, what are you doing now?
I am making up beef stock so that tomorrow I can pressure can it and get this big bag of bones out of my freezer.
What are those?
Beef soup bones.
Okay, they look big.
They are. And they don't have much meat on them.
So, when you're making up this, it's just to use up stuff, or what?
Well, I like beef stock in the house, and I decided to get the soup bones, and I bought a large roast and cut it up, and the small roasts were tough as old shoe leather, so it's going to go in the soup stock too.
Show us that a bit more. Tell me about that.
It's a sirloin tip roast, I think, and I cut it up, and it just didn't have, it was tough, and there was an awful lot of fat on it, and it wasn't nice to eat, so it'll go into the soup stock and make the soup stock taste good.
Okay.
So into this, I am adding 2 half pints of canned celery. I watched Bev at our half acre homestead, and she said how to can celery, so I thought, well, I'll learn how. Now I know what to do with it. And I'm going to add 1 pint of my canned carrots. And a half pint of mushrooms. Ooh. Men in the kitchens just don't know how to get out of the way. I'm adding some garlic. A little over a teaspoon. And about a tablespoon of salt. After I taste it, I might add more. And black peppercorns. A good 2 tablespoons of those. And these are broken up, but about 4.
Those are bay leaves?
Yeah, oh, I forgot. Yeah, these are bay leaves. About 4 good sized ones of those. And
What's that?
these are shredded carrots that you dehydrated for me.
Hold them up so I can get a good picture of them.
Whew.
Tip the bag towards us.
I'm going to take them out.
And those are dehydrated carrots.
Yep. About a cup of those. And that is my soup stock, other than the water being added.
How much water?
How big is this pot?
I don't know. Just a lot of water?
Yeah. Well, this bigger one is 21 liters, and I'm going to fill it to about here. So, about 20 liters of water.
Yeah. That's what, 5 gallons?
There. And now remember you asked me this morning why I didn't just make it up, wash the pot and use this one to can in as well?
Yeah.
Because I can leave it in this, use my other pressure canner, and not have to dirty another pan putting it into another pan. So I make it in this one, can it in my, oh, I forgot the onions. I put in 2 medium-sized cooking onions. If I was using Vidalia onions, I'd have put in 3.
All chopped up.
Well, chunked up.
Okay.
They don't have to be fine because you're going to pour it all out to make the stock.
So when it comes time, how long are you going to let this cook for?
I'll bring it to a boil and then let it simmer for about 2 to 3 hours. Longer if I forget that it's there. And then put it to, so it'll cool and I can skim any fat off and then can
So
it
it's
up.
got to cool?
Yeah.
What does the cooling do?
Lets the fat rise to the top and you can get rid of it so you're not canning fat.
Okay. And when you go to can it, do you, all that meat and bones and everything, they don't get canned?
No, it's thrown out. It's got nothing left, it's dead. But all the nutrients have come out of it and they just sort of sit there and look yucky.
The nutrients come out, sit there and look yucky?
No, the vegetables that are left sit and look yucky.
Okay. So, come back. What do you do about cooking this? Turn it to a boil for 3 hours?
No, I turn it till it comes to a boil. It's on high right now. In about 20 minutes it'll be at a boil, then I'll turn it down to medium-low.
And what's
And
it do at medium-low? Just simmers?
Just simmers. And then I let it sit for about 2 to 3 hours, and then if it doesn't look really greasy on top, I can can it right away. If it looks greasy, I'll let it cool and skim all the fat off and then can it.
Okay. In that case, we'll come back when it's ready, after it's cooled.
Okay.
Okay. So this has been cooking for,
About the 3 hours. This is sort of what you're looking for. See, the meat's all falling off the bone.
what about inside?
Well, if I had a knife, I'd show you. Ouch! That's hot.
Just a second, I'll get you a
No,
knife.
it's okay, I'll use the scissors. See, it's gone soft. And that means the marrow is coming out as it cooked.
Okay.
Oh, and I added corn. I had a bunch of dehydrated corn, so I threw that in too.
Why would you throw corn in?
Well, you put corn into soups, and I figured it would add some flavor.
And you have lots and lots of dehydrated corn?
Quite a bit. And the carrots and the onions are all cooked down. See, this is why I say you throw it out. There's nothing left to it.
Ah, okay. Soggy onion.
Yes. And the meat that I threw in, it's sticking together because it's all cooked out, but it's just
Sinew and
fat
gristle.
and gristle, yeah.
I don't know. I like fatty gristle sometimes to throw out.
To throw out,
You
yes.
should see her face.
If I put a roast out and it's got fat on it, Don says, ew.
Oh, I don't mind the fat if it's nicely cooked. It's the gristle.
Well, in soup,
All that silver skin. Ugh.
yeah. So that's, the roast was just pretty much all gristle, so.
So that reduced down by how much? An inch? 2 inches?
About an inch.
Okay.
You can see where it was.
Okay.
About that much.
All right.
So I will let it cool. That'll bring the fat all to the top. And then I will put it into jars and drop it into my other canner, and
You're
I
gonna
will...
strain it out?
Yes, once it's cooled a bit. It's a little hot to touch. And I splash.
Okay. All right.
So when it's cooled, I'll drain it off, and then...
So in other words, you put a lid on and just push it to the back of the stove.
Right.
Okay. Say bye for now.
Bye for now.
Okay, Linda, explain to us what we're seeing right here in this pot.
In that pot, you've got my soup stock that's had the fat congeal for a bit, and I'm about to skim the fat off, and then I will drain it into another pot, and then I will can it up.
Okay.
Okay. I make a hole in it, and then I skim the fat off. There wasn't all that much on top, so that's one advantage to using just the bones. You don't get a lot of fat.
But you could leave the fat in to can if you wanted.
You could, but
What?
it would just make the jars all greasy, and you'd have to skim it. If it was too much in one particular jar, you'd have to skim it afterwards, and kind of a waste of space.
It's just gross and unappealing.
Yes, for me. The only place I like fat is on the edges of steaks and pork chops.
Okay. And after this, it's drain it out, right?
Yeah, take out all the bones and...
I'll bring you back for that. So these bones are dead and gonna be garbage?
Yes. When we used to have people with dogs living beside us, I used to give them the bones. Only after I asked the owners or the parents
Yeah.
first. Okay, I'm gonna turn that off while I do. Okay. This is where Dawn comes in handy. I can't lift it, so it won't all fit in here, so stop when I tell you to.
It's an awkward pot.
It's a heavy pot.
Okay.
Oh,
Some more?
lots more.
And more.
Well, I was gonna get rid of the onions so it would go through better. This is kind of the reason a lot of people don't videotape the whole process. Okay.
You mean because it takes so long?
Yeah, and you think, why does anybody have to see me doing this part?
Just a second, hold it there, and I'll stir it with a spoon.
Here, use my strainer here. Don,
But
use this. See, I call this the gloppy job.
It is. Well, you could shake it a little, so. I think you're going to need another pot.
Yeah, hold on, I'll get another one.
Meanwhile, that's soup stock right there.
I can do this part.
And there's more to go.
Yeah.
Now I know what my job is. Wash! Why are you wiping that out right now?
Because it's all gonna go back in here so I can heat it up a bit.
Oh, okay.
Do you wanna bring that bowl over? Okay.
Why are you going to heat it up a bit?
Because you put it into the jars hot. And that way, when they go into the hot water,
They don't break.
yeah,
Alright, makes sense to me.
everything I do makes sense.
Well,
You just don't always understand my sense.
you're right. That's very true. Okay, now what are you going to do with that pot?
I'm going to put water into it and get it ready to take the jars that I can.
Okay.
So when I get that set to go, you can come back.
Okay.
He's been told. Okay, I'm just gonna add a couple lugs, maybe a quarter cup of vinegar to the pressure canner. And the only reason I do that is to save myself some work. It keeps the glass jars from going all cloudy because we have hard water. Yep, that's plenty.
You don't need more?
Nope.
Okay, that was just hot water from the sink.
Yep. You need about 2 inches in the bottom of the pressure canner of water.
So it doesn't get as far as the lid, or what?
No. You can, but you spend an awful lot of time bringing it up to pressure. Now I've washed the jars. I'm not going to sterilize them because the pressure canning sterilizes everything. I've got the funnel here, Dawn.
Okay.
And Dawn bought me this god-awful big ladle, because one day I says, I don't have a ladle and they'd be handy. Well, I wasn't canning at the time, and I never did figure out what I was supposed to do with this big a ladle.
Make me soup.
If you ate soup, I might have. I don't know how many jars I'm going to get, but I've got 10 ready to go. I fill them to just the second ring, just before the second ring on the jars at the top. One nice thing about soup stock, you don't have to worry about debubbling it. Because that
Okay.
is something I quite often forget.
Come back after the jars are all filled.
Yep.
Okay, so you have
17,555 milliliter jars. Some are wide mouth, some are small mouth.
okay. What were you doing with the paper towel?
I'm washing the lids off, or the tops of them. That way if any grease or gunky stuff is there, I wash it off and it won't affect the seal.
Okay.
You tighten them to finger tight and you set them in. I use just the water out of the canner because it's got vinegar in it and that cuts any grease.
Okay. So can you put all 17 jars into this pot?
Hopefully. I can do 2 layers, so more than
Right.
likely.
So I'll bring them back when. Okay.
I've got 8 jars of the 8 of the wide mouth jars in there. So I put this in, and then I start loading up the next one.
And these cans on top don't need to be in the hot water
Nope.
because
Because the instructions said they don't.
I was kind of hoping you would say because the steam inside is what does it.
The pressure does it, not the water.
Steam under pressure. Okay.
What did I tell people?
Well, for the newbies who have never done this, why do you have those caps or lids or whatever you call them in that water?
Oh, it softens up the rubber that's on them. And
In
it
other
makes,
words, that was hot water?
yes. In the microwave for 3 minutes. It doesn't have to be boiling hot, just has to be hot enough that it'll help.
That if you stick your finger into it, it's going to hurt.
Yeah, but you see this here? The ring?
The rubber?
Yeah. Apparently you don't have to soften it up. I haven't done any research on it and I've always put them in hot water. So I'm going to continue putting them in hot water. But it makes it so that this goes down onto the lid harder and it seals.
Okay.
Oops. Helps if you put it on. Don't distract me.
Sorry. Okay, later. Okay, we're recording.
This is the seal that tucks in there. You should keep it lubricated. I usually forget, so I don't. Then you check out these holes here
Why?
so you can see through them so that no calcium buildup is in there.
So you can see through?
Yep. And then you make sure you've got the right pot with the right lid, which for me is usually wrong.
Now you've got 2 different pots, right?
Yes.
One has pressure gauge.
And one has just the jiggly thing. This one has the pressure gauge, and I find it much easier to use. I don't have to sit there and make sure the wiggler goes the 30 times a minute that it's supposed to or whatever. And I just turn this on. I let it build up to pressure. And then as soon as it reaches just a touch above the 10, I put the weight on. No, that's wrong. Sorry. You turn it on. When this thing starts letting out a lot of steam, you let it go for 10 minutes. Then you put the weight on, and when it comes up to just a little tiny touch above the 10, you start timing. And for the pint jars or 555 milliliter jars, it's 20 minutes under pressure. Then you
That's from the time you put the weight on?
Yes.
Okay. Now,
No, from the time it reaches the 10.
oh, okay. So it has to be 20 minutes at 10 pounds
Right.
or a little above. How come it's 10 pounds?
Because that's what our,
What's
air-
that got to do with anything?
I don't know, but we are so far above sea level, that's the pressure for our area. Everybody's area, they have to check.
Okay. So it's the height above sea level where you live that determines whether you go 5 pounds, 10 pounds, or 15 pounds.
Right.
So if you were, say, in Denver, it would be 15 pounds.
I think so,
That's a
yes.
mile high.
Yes, I think so.
And if you lived on,
Just don't take me out of 10 pounds of pressure and I won't forget.
and if you lived at sea level, it would be 5 pounds.
Right.
Okay. But why is that important? You really have no idea?
I have no clue. I know even baking, it says if you're at a different sea level, it changes the
Okay,
cooking time.
you've never tried to brew a pot of coffee in the mountains, have you? No?
No.
I'll give you a hint. Your water can boil at 180 degrees if you're up in the mountains around here. Instead of 212 degrees Fahrenheit, it will boil at 180. It doesn't get as hot because the pressure, the air pressure, is less. Okay, I'll shut up now.
No. Next time you tell me I'm boiling your tea water too long when we're out in the bush, I'll say, you told me. Okay, that's been 20 minutes. The pressure's at around 11. I don't touch the weight. I just turn the stove off. And when this drops down and this needle goes all the way back down to nothing, then I can take the weight off and open the canner up. Until then, you just leave it sit.
Why?
Apparently, if you take the weight off, the pressure releases too fast and you can shatter all your jars.
Oh, okay.
Which
So
would be
in other words,
a waste.
the jars might not seal.
No, they might explode.
Okay.
And you have a canner full of soup stock, water, vinegar, and broken glass.
That wouldn't be any good.
No.
Okay.
Okay, the pressure's back down to nothing. So I'll take this thing off. And you always open it away from yourself. Because if you wear glasses, you can't see.
Well, can't you give yourself a facial with all that steam?
You could. And then you take the jars out.
Now, when you take the jars out, what kind of surface do you put them on?
If you have a regular countertop, put a towel down.
Why?
So that if it's cold, it doesn't crack them, and it just keeps the water off your counter.
I thought it was mainly so it didn't damage the jars. That was the short jar that you put
Oh,
in.
yeah, okay, I was wondering. And they're still bubbling away.
Yeah, that's one thing about pressure canning like that. Those jars will stay hot for a long time. So, don't touch them by hand.
You try to keep them out of a draft, so as soon as I get these out of here, I'm going to put a towel over them because I have my window open. It's finally warm enough around here to leave your window open.
And what's the only thing left to be done with these jars after?
Once they're cool, you take the rings off, you wash them, you label them. I put the label on the top, and then you put them away.
Okay. So that's it then?
That is it.
There should be a better way to take that thing out, eh?
There should. And as soon as I find it, I will let anybody know.
Hey. Okay, so that's how you can beef stock.
Yep. And for about $5, I got 16,
17.
well, 16 and a quarter, 16 and we'll say
3/4.
17 jars.
Yeah, and one of them just sealed.
And the thing I like, they look so pretty. You know what's in them. Like, I can't have citric acid, and so I know that there is no citric acid in these, so
In other words, quality control is pretty important.
yes, and you put in the amount of salt you want. It's got the spices you like. And they're down on your pantry shelf, ready for you to use. You don't have to say, oh, I want to make soup, but now I have to go to the store and buy a can of soup stock. You've got it. I call it going to shop at mom and pop store.
Okay, say goodbye.
Bye.